So here we are, 100 episodes in, and really, the 100th episode of Arrow was a phenomenal one. It really was one of the best episodes of the series ever, and it's odd because I didn't expect going into this crossover slash 100th episode that they could make it, so emotionally impactful and such a great episode. Season 5, episode 8 of Arrow, Invasion, has to be one of the best episodes of all time, and there's many reasons for this. And the basic plot of this episode is Oliver, Thea, um, Sarah, and Ray and Diggle are all trapped in this mind control device that creates this illusion of a perfect world in which Oliver never got on the Queen's Gambit and never crashed and never became the Green Arrow. So in this reality, of course, all the people who had died throughout Oliver's life and crusade are now alive, and he has this perfect life where Quentin never became a drunk, where Laurel is the person he's going to get married to, where his parents are both living, and there's very emotional scenes as we see Oliver and Thea react to their parents still being alive, and especially Thea. Willa Holland did a phenomenal job in this episode, playing up Thea's emotions because this is really a perfect reality that the Dominators wanted them to believe in, and she really sold her feelings well, sold Thea's feelings well, because Thea, you just see the emotion in her eyes when she hugged her parents, see her wanting to stay with them, but then eventually having to realize that, oh, this is just an illusion created by the Dominators to keep us here. And we also got some amazing fighting choreography as we got to see Oliver, Thea, and Sarah and Ray all take down, the Arrow's greatest hits, Slade Wilson, Billy Wintergreen, Malcolm Merlin, and I believe the other was Damien Dark. I mean, you had all these big bads that everybody had to take down at the end to escape this illusion, and there's this amazing fighting sequence that I haven't seen the likes of on Arrow in such a long time. So not only was the emotional playoff of all of the characters coming back, all these actors and actresses coming back who had died previously on the show, and then of course the heartbreak when everybody has to leave because they realize it's not the reality. But you also have um, these great action sequences put in there as well. So it's not just, if it wasn't enough to have these very powerful character moments, you also have these very powerful action scenes. So in the alternate reality, I guess I should go through. Thea, of course, just grew up like normal. Oliver was going to marry Laurel, and both their parents were still alive. Diggle became the Green Arrow, and not only that, but he sort of forgot Lila because Lila would never be in his life because he was just consumed with his want to help the city. Quentin, of course, just completely normal. He loved Oliver in this universe, like as his son-in-law, and they had a good relationship together. Uh, then, of course, Ray and Felicity were gonna be married, of course, because that's Ray's happy scenario. But everybody quickly realizes that this reality isn't real, and that's when they all decide to escape and get in those awesome action scenes. But if that wasn't enough, if all this crossover wasn't enough, there's this awesome escape from the alien spaceship, which I feel like they could have done more with, but it was pretty cool just seeing them and the awesome set pieces, and then of course getting in the craft and getting picked up by the wave rider at the end. It was very awesome to see. So that was the good part of Invasion. But the bad part about it was actually the team up between the Flash and Supergirl and Team Arrow. It was just so underwhelming. They basically had to hunt down this cyber woman who has a part they need to track where they were, and it was sort of ridiculous. Like she just seemed like a terrible one-off villain. She didn't even have any. She was just a plot point basically. And of course, I have been warming up to Wild Dog, but in this episode, his development was so forced. He was like, I don't like Supergirl and I don't like the Flash, because the metahumans and aliens are taking everything away from us. And then very quickly it was resolved, and he's like, "Oh, I guess they're not all bad. I'm glad you guys are here." And it just seemed like that plot point didn't even need to exist. I did like a couple of the comments between Rory Reagan and I believe Curtis Holt, because it was cool figuring out. Of course, if you read the Ragman comics, Rory Reagan's Jewish, and so they sort of introduced that fact in this episode. But he didn't get in on any of the action. Considering Ragman's one of my favorites for this season, I was very disappointed. So hopefully the final team up will show some of Team Arrow helping out a little bit more than they did this episode. But that was a minuscule part of this episode. The majority of it was everybody escaping this false reality and everybody leaving, and it was a phenomenal episode of Arrow, more so than a phenomenal episode of the crossover. And just really, this capped off 100 episodes of Arrow perfectly. And this show's had its ups and downs. It's had its season 1. It's had season 2, which were phenomenal. It's had season 3, which was utter trash. It's had season 4, which was meh. And it's had this season 5 that's been showing that this show can still provide good storytelling and good character development, good plot development, and can look back at what they succeeded at. Yeah, the directors and writers can look back at what they succeeded at in the past and sort of pull from that and sort of make Arrow great again, and I really think that's what they're doing. So as a final score for the part 3 of the 4-part crossover Invasion, Season 5, Episode 8 of Arrow, I'd have to give this episode a 9.2 out of 10. Definitely one of the best episodes of Arrow in the last 4 years.